In a small-town high school, Rachel Cohen, a Jewish girl with a hidden strength, faces relentless bullies who force her to confront her deepest beliefs. One cruel act pushes her too far, unleashing a jaw-dropping secret that changes everything. Watch her rise in a story of vengeance and redemption. Rachel Cohen walked the halls of Jefferson High with her head down, her dark curls falling like a curtain over her eyes. The small town of Millwood, Ohio, was not kind to those who stood out, and Rachel, with her Star of David necklace glinting faintly under her collar, stood out more than most. At 16, she was quiet, studious, and fiercely devoted to her faith. Observing kosher laws with a discipline that baffled her classmates, her mother Miriam ran the only kosher deli in town, a quaint shop that doubled as a gathering place for the tiny Jewish community. Rachel spent her afternoons there, slicing brisket and dreaming of a world where she didn't have to brace herself for the whispers and sneers that followed her like shadows. The bullies, led by a towering senior named Derek Voss, had made her their favorite target. Derek, with his Letterman jacket and cruel smirk, ruled the school's social hierarchy, and he'd decided Rachel's quiet defiance was a personal affront. It started with taunts about her weird food and escalated to shoves in the hallway. Her books scattered across the linoleum. She never fought back, not because she was weak, but because she'd promised her mother she'd stay out of trouble. Miriam had raised her alone after her father's death, instilling in her a belief that strength was in endurance, not fists. But Rachel had a secret, one she kept even from her mother. She'd been training in Krav Maga since she was 12, a gift from her late father who'd wanted her to know how to protect herself. She practiced in the basement, her punches slicing the air, her body, a coiled spring of power she'd never unleashed. She told herself she didn't need to, that she could endure anything. That belief would be tested in ways she never imagined. The trouble began on a crisp October afternoon, the kind where the leaves crunched underfoot and the air smelled of bonfires. Rachel sat alone in the cafeteria, her lunch a carefully packed kosher meal, hummus, pita, and sliced vegetables. Derek and his crew to me, a wiry kid with a mean streak, and Kayla, a cheerleader who wielded her popularity like a blade, sauntered over, their laughter cutting through the hum of the cafeteria. Derek leaned over her table, his shadow swallowing her lunch. He picked up her pita, sniffed it, and tossed it to Tommy. "What's this, Cohen? More of your freak food?" he mocked, loud enough for nearby tables to turn. Rachel's cheeks burned, but she kept her eyes on her tray, her fingers tightening around her fork. Kayla smirked, flipping her blonde ponytail. "Bet she's never even tasted real food," she said, pulling a plastic container from her bag. Inside was a pork sandwich, greasy and dripping with barbecue sauce. Rachel's stomach churned at the sight. She'd never eaten pork, forbidden by her faith. Derek grabbed the sandwich and held it inches from her face. "Eat it," he demanded, his voice low and menacing. The cafeteria grew quieter, eyes darting. To the scene, Rachel shook her head, her voice steady but soft. "No." Derek's eyes narrowed, and before she could react, he shoved the sandwich against her lips, smearing sauce across her chin. The room erupted in laughter, phones raised to capture her humiliation. Rachel froze, the taste of barbecue sauce bitter on her tongue, a violation of everything she held sacred. She stood, trembling, and ran from the cafeteria. Derek's laughter. Chasing her in the bathroom, Rachel scrubbed her face until it was raw, tears mixing with the water. She stared at her reflection, her brown eyes blazing with a fury she'd never allowed herself to feel. She thought of her father, his voice echoing from years ago. "You're stronger than you know, Rachel. Don't let anyone make you forget." She'd kept that strength locked away, but the lock was breaking. Back at home, she didn't tell her mother what happened, unable to bear the worry it would bring. Instead, she went to the basement, her fists pounding the heavy bag until her knuckles bled. She wasn't just angry, she was done. Done hiding, done enduring. The next day, she walked into school with her head high, her necklace visible, longer, tucked under her shirt. Derek noticed immediately, his grin widening as he saw a new challenge. He didn't know he was walking into a trap. The second incident came during gym class in the open field behind the school. The class was playing dodgeball, a game Derek turned into a war zone. He aimed every throw at Rachel, each ball whistling, past her head with deliberate menace. She dodged with an ease that surprised her classmates, her Krav Maga training making her movements fluid, almost effortless. Derek, frustrated, cornered her after class near the bleachers, Tommy and Kayla, flanking him. "You think you're tough now, Cohen?" he sneered, holding a half-eaten pork hot dog he'd smuggled from the cafeteria. "Let's try this again." He lunged, trying to force the hot dog into her mouth. This time, Rachel didn't freeze. Her hand shot out, grabbing his wrist with a grip that made him wince. The hot dog fell to the ground, and before Derek could react, Rachel's fist connected with his jaw. The crack echoed across the field, and Derek stumbled back, clutching his face. Tommy rushed forward, but Rachel was faster, her elbow slamming into his nose, sending him to the ground. Kayla screamed, backing away as Rachel stood over the two boys, her breath steady, her eyes like steel. The crowd that had gathered was silent, phones still recording, but now capturing a different story. Rachel Cohen, the quiet Jewish girl, had just broken the jaws of her tormentors with a single punch each. The fallout was immediate. By the end of the day, the video was everywhere. On X, TikTok, even local news sites. "Jewish girl fights back," headlined one post, racking up millions of views. Rachel was suspended pending a disciplinary hearing, and the school erupted in debate. Some called her a hero, others a menace. Derek's parents, influential in Millwood, demanded her expulsion, claiming she'd attacked their son unprovoked. Rachel, however, was calm, her secret training no longer a secret. At the deli, Miriam was torn between pride and fear, knowing the town's small-mindedness could turn on them. But Rachel wasn't alone anymore. Classmates who'd once ignored her began speaking up, sharing stories of Derek's cruelty. A quiet girl named Sarah, who'd been bullied for her weight, revealed how Derek had tormented her for years. A black student, Jamal, admitted Derek had targeted him with racial slurs. The tide was turning, but Rachel knew it wasn't enough. She needed to clear her name and expose the truth. The twee. The twist came at the disciplinary hearing held in the school's auditorium with parents, teachers, and students packed into the seats. Derek, his jaw wired shut, sat with his parents, his eyes burning with resentment. Rachel, dressed simply, in a black sweater and her necklace gleaming, stood before the school board. She didn't deny the punches, but asked to present evidence. The principal's reluctant permission, she played a compilation of videos, not just the fight, but months of footage she'd secretly recorded on her phone documenting Derek's harassment. The clip showed him shoving her, mocking her faith, and targeting others. The room gasped as the final video played. The cafeteria incident, recorded by a sympathetic freshman who'd sent it to Rachel. The board was silent, Derek's parents, pale. But the real shock came when Rachel revealed her Krav Maga training, explaining how her father, a former IDF soldier, had taught her to defend herself. "I didn't want to hurt anyone," she said, her voice clear. "But I won't let anyone hurt me anymore." The room erupted in applause, led by Sarah and Jamal, stood in solidarity. The board cleared Rachel of wrongdoing, suspending Derek and Tommy instead. Kayla, humiliated, transferred schools. But the story didn't end there. The viral video caught the attention of a local martial arts gym whose owner, a former Navy SEAL named Coach Daniels, offered Rachel a scholarship to train professionally. She accepted not for fame, but to honor her father's legacy. The deli became a local landmark, its tables filled with supporters who saw Rachel as a symbol of standing up to injustice. Yet, not everyone was happy. Derek's parents, humiliated, spread rumors, and anonymous threats began appearing at the deli graffiti. Hate mail, even a brick through the window one night. Rachel realized the fight wasn't over. Late one evening, she caught a figure in a hoodie spray painting a slur on the deli's wall. It was Tommy, out for revenge. This time, Rachel didn't punch. She disarmed him with a single move, pinning him until the police arrived. The arrest made headlines. cementing Rachel's reputation as a force to be reckoned with. Asterisk, as the school year drew to a close. Rachel found herself at the center of a new movement in Millwood, the anti-bullying club. She'd inspired grew, and she became its unofficial leader, guiding students like Sarah and Jamal to find their own strength. But a deeper challenge emerged when Rachel discovered a hidden truth about Derek's behavior. Through a chance conversation with a teacher, she learned Derek's father, a prominent local businessman, had been pressuring the school to downplay his son's actions for years, protecting his family's reputation. Rachel saw an opportunity not for revenge, but for justice. She began investigating, using her sharp mind and the support of her new allies. With Sarah's tech skills, they uncovered emails between Derek's father and the principal, revealing a pattern of cover-ups for Derek's bullying. The evidence was damning. But Rachel faced a dilemma. Exposing it could ruin Derek's family and escalate the threats against her own. She confided in Coach Daniels, who urged her to trust her instincts. Rachel chose to act, but not out of anger. She submitted the evidence anonymously to a local journalist, a woman known for her integrity. The story broke, and the town reeled as Derek's father faced public scrutiny, his influence crumbling. Derek, shamed and isolated, left Millwood with his family, their power broken. Rachel, however, didn't gloat. She visited the synagogue with her mother, lighting a candle for her father, feeling his presence in her courage. The deli thrived. Now a symbol of resilience, and Rachel's training intensified, her sights set on a national Krav Maga competition. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for everyone who'd been silenced, proving that one punch could spark a revolution. Months later, Rachel stood in the gym, her fists wrapped, sparring with Coach Daniels. She was stronger now, not just physically but in spirit. The town had changed. 2 students formed an anti-bullying club, and the deli hosted interfaith dinners, bridging divides Rachel never thought possible. She still wore her Star of David, now a badge of pride. Her mother watched from the sidelines, her eyes shining with tears and love. Rachel had kept her promise to stay out of trouble, but she'd also made a new one, to never let fear silence her again. The bullies had tried to break her, but they'd only made her stronger. Her punches had shattered more than jaws. They'd shattered a cycle of cruelty, proving that one girl, armed with faith and fists, could change everything. If Rachel's story inspired you, hit that subscribe button and join our community for more tales of courage. Share this video and let us know in the comments which part of the country are you watching from. Your support keeps these stories alive. Stay strong. Stay true.